Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science or Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Nvidia is now a $1 trillion company. So let's dive deep into it. So what is this quote unquote $1 trillion club? Now this is one of the most exclusive club, meaning there are hundreds and thousands of big companies, and these puppies are rare of them all, meaning this is a very big prestigious thing to do. So let's look at from top to bottom. So Big Daddy is Apple, is around $3 trillion. This puppy started in 1976, so some serious horsepower. Then we come to Microsoft, $2.3 trillion, still amazing, and 1975 starting day. Then we have Saudi Arabia's Aramco Oil Corporation, so to say, Oil and Gas Corporation. So that's 2 trillion. Now you feel like, wait a minute, I never heard of it. The reason is they started in the open stock exchange in 2019. So, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, December 2019. So they're not very old, but again, oil and gas, GG amounts of money. So that happened. And then you have Alphabet, which is a Google's daddy company, that is $1.8 trillion 1998 starting point. Then we have Amazon, $1.6 trillion company, and it's from 1994. So you can say like these are some big daddies, some really big daddies. Then we had one random company that was a fluke, that was Tesla. Now Tesla touched this, but it fall back. Now you have to understand the likelihood Tesla ever reaching that 1 trillion. Of course, inflation could send it there, but likelihood of it's directly reaching it is zero, simply because it was overvalued. There are many companies that for a shortened period of time it gets overvalued. For example, if all the car companies, right, all the car manufacturers, you take them, you combine their pool, it was still not $1 trillion. So how the heck a single company like Tesla, which does not sell that many cars, like if you look at numbers of units sold to customers, it's puny. It's puny. Like if I go to Toyota and it's like, bro, which is your worst car selling model? They will be like, bro, our worst is still more than what you have Tesla is selling. Like unit sold to customer. It's mind-bogglingly, like, there are few zeros different. And meanwhile, you take a world, like a whole planet, take 1,000 cars from anywhere. How many Teslas do you think you're going to find? Only some places you're going to find very little. So that 1 trillion was always overvalued. So it dropped, and it dropped very drastically, so to say. So they went and then they almost went down. So they went down to 0.6 trillion, so around 600 billion. So it was overvalued, and there is a very good chance they may not recover very well, because again they are starting to suffer the consequences of that overvaluation. Now they are removing radar, they are trying to remove sonar, and I'm like, the sole reason anybody supposed to drive autopilot is supposed to be better than us. Our eyes are not that amazing, and they had million years of evolution. That's why we want to put lidar in. It's like, you don't have money to put lidar anymore. So that's why I will not put very good chances on Tesla ever recovering this much, unless inflation could force it that, but likelihood is zero. Then we come to Meta. Now Meta also reached that 1 trillion, but Meta is a gone company, meaning at this point in time, everybody is kind of understanding it. Like there is a sort of stillness in the air, so to say. People are like, yeah, Facebook is a done deal, meaning it's no longer the cool thing, no longer the hip thing, and they are trying all out. They are going balls to the walls, trying to do everything. But in terms of monetization, in terms of value gain, it's very poor, so to say. And that's why they wanted to jump so hardly into the metaverse, but nothing. Like they have dropped to 0.2 and around $200 billion. So it's almost a goner at this point in time. From their original achievement, it's like, yeah, not looking good. Then we had Nvidia. Now Nvidia only briefly touched $1 trillion, but they only dropped to 0.96. So if I round this up, it does go to 1 trillion. So be mindful, it started in 1993 and it's there. It's gonna reach there, it's gonna stay there. So let that be very clear. It's a very hard club to get in. Be mindful, only this many I could found. Maybe one or two company I have missed, but likelihood is very low. And of course, it's not like hundreds of company there. That's why $1 trillion mark is so, big achievement. And staying there for long term, like, I went there, I stayed there. That's even more amazing part. So $1 trillion club, Nvidia just kicked in the door. So how does it compete? Like how big that deal is compared to other things? Flat out no competition. Like the amount of achievement Nvidia did is beyond calculation, beyond, like, it's like if it was a race, that person has completed the whole race and other people are taking lap one. And he's like, yeah, I've done that. That's how big the difference is. There is no competition. So give you some context. Intel, the daddy company, the company that laid the foundation of what we call x86 right now, and it created so many things, they are not doing so well. And not to mention, their year-over-year earnings is not good. It's flat out in red, as in they are suffering losses. And they are at $124 billion. 124 billion. They laid the foundation, and they're like, yeah, we're not doing very hot. And in terms of their employee count, they have 131K employee. So what are their portfolio? Their portfolio, major parts. Of course, they could have 10,000 small things, but I'm talking about major parts, big daddies. So they have CPU, of course. They have iGPUs, dedicated GPUs that are inside the CPU die, and they have ASICs. In their ASICs department prints some serious amount of money, because many network manufacturing relies on I'm saying Intel's dedicated chip. So it's a very big thing. They also wanted to jump into what we'll call 5G modem. That did not turn out that well, but be mindful, their ASICs division, network communication division, USB controller division, and Thunderbolt drivers divisions, like actual chip ASICs division, they are printing money. Like they are a lot of, that's why they have so many people. And they did try to make other things also. For example, they tried to make Optane. That did not go very well, but again, they did learn a lot, and they may use that intelligence in something else. So Intel does have like some serious portfolio, but in terms of oomph, in terms of profitability, not really that good. Now, what about AMD? Now, AMD is gaining some serious ground. Let that be very clear. AMD is like a small comer, is like randomly starting to punch up. And this puppy is $189.9 billion. That's significant, given the fact that it's bigger than basically, Intel. And be mindful, Intel is the one who's licensed x86 architecture to AMD. That's why there is only 2 companies that makes x86, and so many companies that makes ARMS. ARMS was designed to be like, I'm gonna design it, you're gonna customize it how you need it, and manufacture it how you want it. But x86 is like Intel wanted to do everything. But back in those days, they were a very small company, and IBM was like, bro, you really need to have a second partner. AMD became the second partner, and be mindful, going from second partner to, yeah, we are making more money than you. Now here's the embarrassing part, quote unquote. They only have 25K employees. So their employee count went down, drastically down, and their earnings went up, drastically up. Now what do they have? They have main core is CPU. That's the main puppy that is making money. They also have DGPU, which was not their own brand. They bought ATI. So they bought a dying brand, and apparently with all data sets, it's still dying. So that's their 2 core portfolio. Then let's give Nvidia some context here. Nvidia is like, to them, is like, it's not bitch please, it's bitches please. Okay, bitches please. It's on a whole different level. What kind of level? $967.5 billion on 26K employees. Let that sink in. Almost 1 trillion with 26,000 employees. Damn. And what they have? Well, only one true thing. Of course, they will have their own small things, and they are branching out in other things, because again, they are so successful now. DGPUs, dedicated GPU units, or compute card, as they will say. But what is their upcoming? Upcoming is their CPU. They are making new CPUs. I'll talk about that in further. But right now, where did they made their majority of the money? That's from DGPU. So that's bonkers that it's so ahead of AMD and Intel. And then you have to understand, what about the CEO? That's the core founding, right? Now, CEO, Jason Huang, is like from 1993. This photo is from 1993. And he's unchanged. That is mind-bogglingly amazing part from a company's point of view. That simply means he has seen all the ups, all the downs, and his vision is the company's vision. And that is awesome in terms of stability, especially if you want to plan something that is multiple years ahead. Because many times people swap out CEO if they are like, yeah, he's not printing so much money, let's just change him. And all the research project that he was undertaken, new CEO generally cancels, because again, new CEO also wants to make sure that his position is unchanged. So he will like, let's remove all the mistakes of my past. But turns out those mistakes creates a fallback effect, where brick by brick, companies that was growing fast randomly goes from stagnation to dead, rather than growing, stagnation, then growth, stagnation, because there will always be stagnation. Look at the graph of Nvidia, you will find it does not have like going up constantly. It always had ups and down, ups and down. But because they did not have leadership change, the fact that stability was like, I got this, I know what I'm doing. The fact that everybody inside the company is like, we trust you, what you want to do, just tell me what to do, I'll do it for you. As simple as that. That simply gives the company a certain level of oomph that you cannot copy. And numbers speaks for themselves. Like there's a very huge difference, like some big daddy difference. So the meme is, other CEO comes and goes. Be mindful, please tell me who these CEOs are, or were, exactly speaking. And he is, and most likely he will be until he retires or dies. So that's a mind-boggling achievement for a company to start that low slowly crawl away is up. On a hardware team, be mindful, hardware is hard. Software companies can achieve this sort of evaluation quite easily. But on a hardware team, damn. And they did that damn thing. So there is no competition, flat out. Whether you like Nvidia or not like Nvidia, that's a different thing. But this flat out shows that they got it what it takes. Then we come to the understanding how the heck a tiny company reaches this level of aptitude, or it's like oomph. Well, the reality is they played a good game. Now there are many things, everything like is not directly dependent on you. Like I did work hard, I did, does not guarantee that you're gonna succeed. Same with any corporation or company. They can try bets and not all the bets would work out, and they may have a scenarios like, bro, that bet backfired and it bankrupted our company. It has happened, it is happening, it will happen. It's one of those things that's just a name of the game, quote unquote. So they played some good games. That's clear, obviously. And they betted on one big thing. That was the Microsoft DirectX. Now, be mindful, this thing is a condensed variant of some amazing video, which I have linked down below. So the Microsoft DirectX was a risky gamble from Nvidia's point of view, because they were risking their upcoming company, which was a very tiny company at that point in time, into the fact that Microsoft is really working on it, and Bill Gates' word at that point in time, Bill Gates' actual word that they're gonna keep working on it, they're not gonna abandon it, they're gonna polish it, because there were an alternate that was exponentially better. But the fact that DirectX had Microsoft's backing, and Microsoft really wanted to have something in-house for their operating system and their gaming division, like Xbox, they were like, we're gonna do this. And Nvidia bet on that horse rather than OpenGL or something like that. They were like, no, we're gonna go on this. And it paid off. So that was like their gamble that paid off. But what about their labor side? Like, what about their grinding part, the grinding mindset? In that, they took a very big risk. It's like they were going to do vertical integration of device driver development. Now, what does that mean? That simply means back in that day, silicon would be designed by the team, like Nvidia team, and then it's going to be sent to companies like Diamond or something like that. Those companies is going to make the board, and they're going to develop the driver for it, and then they're going to sell it to IBM or Compaq or something like that, and then customer is going to get the stuff. They are like, no, this is not a good idea, because again, chips were getting complex. We started to reach a point where you have thousands and thousands and thousands of transistors per chip. So it was reaching a point where this is a complex thing, and they realized very early on it takes time to develop drivers. So board partners were no longer up to the task. They needed their horsepower to spend on them making the board. So Nvidia was like, we're gonna take care of all of it. Basically, we're gonna give you the die, we're gonna give you the everything that you need to run that die, board is yours. So they took that gamble, and it paid off. It was their own risk, like this is how we're going to do things. And that's why Nvidia is very anal about driver changes. They're very strict about it, and it worked. Like it worked there. The fact that they got drivers done so early on, that's the reason for that. Then they had a great manufacturing partner. Now this is their luck. This is flat out luck. The Microsoft Drive, you can mathematically figure out, there is a good chance that it would work. Driver development, of course, it's a vertical integration. Of course, it's gonna work. That's the thing. But the fact that they got a great manufacturing partner, that's a just draw of the luck, good karma, if you will. They got into the beds with TSMC. Now TSMC was like, of course, there was a collaboration. The collaboration was both of them not gonna compete with each other. Now, ironically, the benefit of this partnership is what we call mutual benefit, meaning you scratch my back, I scratch your backs. What does that translate to? That translates to the more Nvidia made awesome chips, like basically the design of the silicon, the more chips will be in demand. Whoever manufactures it, be a board partner of Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, whatever have you, but the more awesome silicon is, the more TSMC will be employed. And TSMC allowed that money, that influx of money because of Nvidia's success, to go into better development. That better development created a fail-safe where they were like, no, we're gonna give you the latest and greatest cutting edge technology. Nvidia does not have to deal with second-hand technology where it's like, yeah, this is the best Nikon can do, this is the best Canon can do. And yes, these companies were silicon manufacturing companies back in the day when we were not using extreme ultraviolet. So they were very successful when they were running on infrared and optical. They were awesome at that level. The moment we went to ultraviolet, they kind of dropped out, could not keep up. But TSMC could. So TSMC was like, we got this. We're gonna take care of the hardware manufacturing side of things. You're gonna take care of the chip. We're gonna make both of us rich. And it worked. It was like very big gamble, give a big what we call leap of faith, and it paid off flat out. There was no discussion about it. It worked. They got access to the bleeding edge, and because of this success, that's the reason why TSMC has such a large market monopoly, almost monopoly. Is the reason for that is simply because Nvidia was selling so much of it. So both of them reinforced each other. because the only two companies that is even close to competing that is Intel and Samsung. So it was a quite amazing deal from TSMC points of view. Then we come to, okay, this is just your side of things. Like, this is how you are running the race. What about the other players? Because again, you can have like amazing race running ability, but others run, if they run faster, yeah, still lose. So what about other players? So there was some big player like 3DFX, this company basically. Now this company, they took a different path. Back in the very early days, they took a path that we're gonna have a 3D accelerator and 2D accelerator. They're gonna be two different things, or 2D will be computed by the CPU. Consequence, that approach was awesome at the early days, and again they milked it. They became the granddaddy of graphics compute. But at that point in time, people started to switch from that ecosystem of like, hey, just take care of the graphics, please. Don't ask me to have one card for 2D, one card for 3D. That gave them a lag time where they could not truly counter the threat of Nvidia. After that lag time, they made some bad mistakes, and that bad mistakes kind of like, hampered themselves. They actually they went from making the silicon to like, we're gonna make the whole board, and they literally pissed off their own board partners. That was like, why? Like, even if they were say like, hey, you're gonna make your old boards, we're gonna give you the chips and all that, just we're gonna make this like, just for internal development, or like, making sure there is enough supply chain demand. Like, companies do that. Be mindful, this is the same time where Intel had to give their proprietary stuff to AMD, so it would have been okay there, but they were like, no, we're gonna make it exclusive. Yeah, they went poof after that. So that is 3DFX, the granddaddy who had the crown, gone. Then we come to Intel. Now, Intel realized very early on that x86, awesome, it's gonna go places, awesome, and they're gonna develop GPU for it, simply because they learned from Microsoft and the true success of basically graphics interface, that GPU is gonna become a thing that you're gonna need. No matter what, you're gonna need it. It's not optional. So they dipped their toes into it. Now, be mindful, as this is the same time where Microsoft is early on DirectX, and they are like, we're gonna need our own silicon sooner or later, because at that point in time, Nvidia was a very small company, and if any other companies were not truly supporting. Be mindful, in the early days of DirectX, it was horrible. So if nobody was supporting it and they did not have silicon for it, nobody would develop for it. It's like chicken and egg scenario. Like, you have to make a console, you have to sell a console, only then people make games for it. So they may reach a situation where they have to use their deep pocket to build silicon for it, so they can start the situation. But the moment Intel announced that they're gonna develop their own puppy, Microsoft was like, Intel got it. Be mindful, this is Intel, like, from their technological standpoint, in terms of their intellectual property horsepower, they're like the daddy company. So if Intel jumped in, other companies would be like, you know what, now it's my time to yeet out of there. Be mindful that before that, there was 30 companies competing in this eco space. Right now, there is only 3. So Intel jumped in. Now, be mindful, it flopped hard, as in like a 740 GPU that they built did not did as they expected, and they did not continue that research. They diverted it into the integrated GPU department, and of course that did work. Right now, which is the most common GPU in the world, that is Intel iGPU. Why? Office computers, all of them have it. So it did work. The research was not wasted, but the competitor gone. And if they had not jumped into the dedicated GPU department, there is a very good chance they, Microsoft could have done something amazing. If this company 3DFX did not have pissed off their own board partner, there is a very good chance they had some serious horsepower. They had some serious market coverage. They could have done that. They could have done some amazing things. Even they're like, oh, our name is not known. Not necessary, man. It's like they could have done some amazing things. But again, this is what happened to other players. Intel, oops, and yeet out in one go. 3DFX is like, yeah, we did something stupid. Microsoft, yeah, if Intel is doing this, we don't need to. And then they are like, we should have done that. So this is how Nvidia got into the current position. So what we can expect in the future? Now, this is where I have to give you some bad news. They're just getting warmed up, flat out. They're just starting. Meaning, if you look at their portfolio and the portfolio that they're gonna offer, yeah, they're gonna be like, we're gonna make some serious money, my man. And I would not be shocked if they cross $2 trillion quite soon. And I'm not joking, like, they can genuinely push that far, or maybe even 3. So they're seriously getting some like serious horsepower right now. Why? Why though? Why this sudden meteoric rise? Because of matrix operation. What is a GPU? GPU is a compute device. What does it compute? It does amazing compute when you have to deal with matrix operation. What is matrix operation? It's a mathematical operation where you multiply basically 2 Excel sheets, so to say. I do not know math. I cannot explain it better than that. So you have multiple parallel data streams. Now, GPUs were designed in such a way that it can do that task again and again and again and again and parallelly. From day one, it was designed to be parallelized on day one. And this is their biggest advantage. Meaning, if you do matrix operation, what other things use matrix operation? Neural networks. So every time you're machine learning, deep learning, hulululu, jingalala, all of that thing is just matrix operation. What hardware can do matrix operation? GPU. Why it can do better than CPU? CPU can do it, but CPU was designed in such a way that it can handle multiple things changing. While matrix operation is like a lot of crunching, but it's the same thing. It's like the same thing again and again and again. So GPU was dedicated hardware for that. That's why you always hear GPUs having weird code counts like 2000 CUDA cores, 6000 CUDA cores, 10,000 CUDA cores. That's the reason for that. It's super easy to parallelize, and GPUs are fine-tuned, honed for that puppy, and they milked that. So the fact neural network needs a lot of matrix operation and GPU scales up, this is another aspect. It is like if they have to make new generation GPU, let's say A100 is awesome right now, they want to make B100, and they're like, hey, we don't have too much development in node manufacturing. Let's say node cannot be shrunk, it becomes too unwieldy, let's say yield rate goes down. Okay, no problem. They can just make it physically bigger. They're like, okay, how many cores we have? 10,000. Okay, let's make it 10,000 into 2,000, 10,200 or 10,000, 50,000. They can do whatever they want. They can do arbitrary number. As long as they can keep connecting it, they're gonna get it done. So that's super easy. It can scale up dramatically easily. Like they can start from like, hey, this GPU die, this GPU die, this GPU die. They can really do it. So GPU multiple parallel option, it does not have the same issue as CPU has, where it's like, dude, we physically built quad core CPUs, but actually software cannot truly utilize it. That's not an issue with GPU. So these two things combined made Intel where it's like, hey, Nvidia, where it's like, I have a knob and I can just increase the knob and print more money. So they did that, and flat out all the AIs that most likely you have heard of, almost 100% of them are running on basically Nvidia. It's like, it's not even a monopoly. It's like Nvidia only. Of course, there may be some AMD instinct graphics card, but good luck with that. So GPUs became a very, very, very awesome for this sort of compute, and increasing the compute horsepower was super easy. So they can scale it up. And right now, the whole world is betting on AI. The whole world is going all in. So what does that mean? That simply means this puppy. This puppy is their year 2021 and year 2022, the earnings they made. Now, they have multiple subdivisions also. So they have OEM and others, meaning original equipment manufacturer. If they are buying dedicated chips from the A6 sort of architecture, they're like, that did not do so well. They went from 269 to 169. Yeah, not good. Auto, but many companies are moving to their place where they're like, hey, we want to make our own A6. So that has also went down from 151 to 134. Auto division also went down. Then we come to professional visualization, meaning render farms. That puppy went up. That went from 350 to 629. JJ. What about gaming? Gaming went from 2,672 to 3,355.3. So it actually went up 3,553. That went up. However, Nvidia plays the long game. What they have noticed is data center. Data center went from 2,000 to 3,588, and I'm reasonably sure when this year 2023 is over, there will be a giant line here. So this is the part. That's why their sole focus is now data center. They have seen gaming growth. It's very mild. It's timid basically, but data center is doubling almost 1.5x. That's like, shut up, take money, shut up, focus on this. Everything is on this. And people are sensing that everybody is going bonkers on AI. Of course, it could also have a crash exactly like how we had .com bubble. But right now, Nvidia is in the perfect spot where they can milk this puppy. So they are going all in on data center. So they're going to be making some serious money in the future. Now, this is all sorted. This is like, we got this. This is like what they have been doing. They're good at it. They still have some room to grow. That's good. But what is scary, the reason they wanted to buy ARM's holdings is simply because they were developing their own CPU, because they wanted to release something like this, Nvidia Grace, which is Nvidia's first server CPU, meaning they don't even want to give money to AMD or Intel anymore. They're like, bro, buy from us. They did that, like 72 ARM V9 cores. V9s are like good, powerful cores. V9 cores. I'm like, really? And that's why they actually wanted to buy ARM itself. So they wanted to let go of that what we call licensing cost and still get the experience and expertise of ARM's holding. They wanted to do that, but Britain was like, yeah, bro, no. So this is what they are doing. So that's why I'm saying they are still on their first year. Like the moment this puppy started, and many companies are saying, yeah, this is good, but like it's not gonna make that big of a difference. At Mark 1, it won't. But remember, this company is old and they have seen all how these trends go. That's the biggest wisdom they have, that their CEO knows how the trend goes. So this product, even if it's inferior, they know for a fact. That's like, bro, chill. I know it's inferior. Wait, like, generation 2, generation 3, and randomly by generation 5, people will be like, holy damn, nobody buys AMD CPUs anymore or Intel CPUs anymore because this is all there is. That's how scary this part is. So their future is green. Like, ironically, I'm wearing green t-shirt. So what do we need? We need, as in, here's the, a market without a competition is rotten. We really do not want an ecosystem where RTX 4080 was cut down, stripped of its RAM, stripped of its bandwidth, and they still called it 4080 because there was no competition. Whether you like it or not, flat out, there is no competition, flat out. And that created a scene. Now you were like, hey, didn't Nvidia changed it? They changed it not because of the gamers. That's why I specified gamer growth is very negligible. And pandemic taught them, it's like they can charge whatever the heck they want and people are gonna buy it. I have no idea, and I truly hate all the person who bought GPUs as scalpel prices. If you have not bought it, I know it would have caused you suffering, but that suffering would have been temporal, as in like barely 1 year. But everybody just had to buy it, at twice the MRP. Everybody just had to do it, and Nvidia is like, oh, money. So they did that. So who's the responsible for changing that system? Every board partner. MSI was like, MSI to Nvidia is like, bro, I get it, you are selling A200s, A300, A500 and you're gonna print money. I'm gonna go bankrupt because of your stupidity, because you're pissing off so many customers. Please rename this. Same thing with Asus, same thing with Gigabyte. The board partners are the reason why this things was changed, not gamers. And because people bought in that hype system, and because there is no competition, Nvidia can do whatever the heck they want. They can literally annual their customers and annual the board partners, and nobody else can do anything. So fundamentally, we need competition. I'm under no delusion that competition is necessary. Like, competition is compulsory. So we need that. Now, what can AMD do? First, AMD has to let go of their own ego, where they actually think they have good graphics card, and I genuinely don't get it. It's like, how the heck people keep saying, oh, like, the driver ages like a fine man. That's a bad statement to say. That fundamentally, we buy this card, which only gonna be supported, let's say, at best case scenario, 5 years. Best case scenario, you buy this card, it's gonna be supported 5 years. Wait first year, then have a 4-year graphics card, which will be one generation behind in terms of hardware. Then you're gonna have a good experience. No, that's not a good thing to say. I get it. I love the fact that Nvidia actually has something to look out for, and AMD is not abandoning their old graphics, are actually crunching it, but it's not good. It's not good enough. They need a much bigger driver team. They don't have it. Be mindful, Nvidia has 26,000 people. All of them are focusing more or less on one hardware. AMD has like 2 teams, and one team is much bigger. Which team is bigger? CPU team. Why? It makes more money. So their GPU team is much smaller. They need more people. They need lot more horsepower in order to actually get good GPU. It has to be good at day one. It cannot be like, oh, buy this card, wait 1 year of its lifespan, then it will be good for current games, and then it will be one generation behind. For example, every reviewer right now is saying like, 6000 card is awesome. I'm like, it does not have AV1 encoding. You need I'm doing AV1 encoding streams now. I am doing it, and it's going to become more and more important in tomorrow. So this idea that you have to buy it, wait for 1 year, and then it becomes good, not acceptable. So what they have to do, they have to become price attractive, because be mindful, GPUs are a luxury item. Luxury items have different price logic, meaning there is no price competition there. Whereas like, if I'm spending this much on like, stuff, what if I spend a little bit more and get the best of the best? People will do that. That's why Nvidia is like, even at higher prices, they are like, people just buy it. And again, 1 trillion versus almost like 200 billion. So there is a huge gap of 800 billion almost. So that's the reason for it. They have to become price attractive, not competitive. They cannot be like, oh, Nvidia is selling at 1200. What if we went to 1100? No, sir. You have to be at 600 or 700. And yes, you will still make profit. Yes, it will be tiny, but at least you will get your hardware to the people's hand. Yes, that's the only way where you can have good drivers feedback loop, which allows you to iterate quicker, and that hopefully will trigger enough adoption where your software stack is used. CUDA is used in almost everything. It's not used, like, there is no competition to CUDA, and that's the critical aspect. The more software competition is not there, the more like, yeah, your GPU is awesome, but nobody's gonna buy it. Because again, the game developers are not buying it. The 3D artist is not buying it. Why they are not buying? There is nothing comparable to CUDA. AMD has their own version, but nobody uses it. And that's why they have to become price attractive. They have to be like, hey, buy Nvidia or spend half, flat out half, latest and greatest, almost feature parity, but a little bit of less power, but at half price. Then it would be like, you know what? Hey, I don't have that kind of money where I can just spend like, $900 or $1,000. I can spend $500. So it has to become like that, where it has to be price attractive, not competitive. So it has to become price, and it has to have better drivers. This is not a good thing to say, wait 1 year. And Intel really needs to get on the right track. Intel is in some seriously bad spot, and be mindful, no matter how big Intel is, it can still go poof. So it is one of those things that we have to be very mindful about, and they really, really need to get things all together. Now, their GPU team has to work. Now, I think they understand this. I have a feeling, because there was a hype and rumors about like, ARC GPU is going to be closed down, and there was at some point almost felt like it, but I'm pretty sure even Nvidia, Intel knows that they have to have second stack of software products. Otherwise, they're not in good position. So I'm pretty sure Alchemist is already, and they are working on Battle Mage right now. So Alchemist, Battle Mage, Celestial, and Druid, till that far they have designed the basically roadmap, so to say, and they have to get this puppy working. They have to have a second ecosystem tool, so to say. Whereas like we have CPU, of course we also have our networking and all that jazz, but that's not printing that much money. And not to mention, Nvidia is also releasing their next generation networking cards. Yeah. So and Intel really needs something that is like, yeah, we have multiple products, not just one product that is slowly dying. They need this. They need this to be good, and they really need it. And I'm seeing some hints that they are not abandoning it. There are more and more cards coming out slowly. Of course, it's not making fanfare, and they have the wisdom to like, hey, it's not really a good card. So how about we price price attractivize it, like super cheap. People are like buying it. Why? It's cheap. It's cheap, man. And what does that give Intel? More software development horsepower, more bug reports, more data set. It's like how it's actually working in real life. And I do like that fact that Intel Arc team is like, bro, we gotta get this thing into people's hand. That's the first priority. Everything else is secondary. So be mindful. They have to get this done, because market will not give them the third chance. So this was my presentation on basically Nvidia is giving $1 trillion company. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.